On a warm spring day in Texas, 5 sleepy friends climbed into a truck loaded with dried food, water, and camping equipment to head out west for an adventure, exploring the trails, hills, and valleys of Caprock Canyons State Park. After arriving at the park and checking in, our adventure began. We topped off our water bottles, did one last gear check, made some final adjustments on our packs, then locked the truck and headed for the trail. The first day's hike was relatively short. Starting mid-afternoon didn't leave us much extra time to get to our camping site. We hiked through the valley along a winding but relatively flat and dry riverbed. We then reached the foothills and began our rocky climb upwards to the mesa where we would camp that evening. We took off our packs and boots, and then pitched our tents and settled down for the evening. Of course, with joking and fun stories all along the way.
I bought the off-brand 4 fingers. They're called Fantastic 3 fingers. They say birds love them. So, first night, we made it up, all that. You can kind of see it.
Beautiful.
What do you think?
We did well. We only kind of got lost.
Oh, you're fine.
Yeah.
We took a detour.
Yeah.
We got back to the right trail.
Mm-hmm.
You gonna eat spaghetti?
Yes, spaghetti. Because the
Spaghetti?
other stuff sounded better, and I want that when I'm not in a good mood. And after a bad night's sleep.
I like how we're all ready.
Save the Ben and Jerry's for a good night. All right.
So one time I went to Six Flags and I had this great idea that I would fill my Camelback up with wine. So I went and bought like 4 bottles of this really cheap white and filled up my 2-liter Camelback and just went to town. And then at midday, I finished it up and I went out to the car and had a big lunch. And I took a little cat nap in the car and filled her back up and went back on in.
All day.
All day.
Man,
Didn't quit.
nothing goes with the Superman like drinking wine through a tube.
Camping on the mesa that night was very windy but otherwise uneventful. The next morning, we packed up camp and headed to our next destination, a nook in the valley called Fern Cave. We soon found out that Fern Cave was in fact covered by interesting tropical-looking ferns, but wasn't really much of a cave, more of a shady overhang that was tranquil in the dry heat, but would probably be hell in a flash flood. It would have been a pretty cool spot for lunch, but our day had just begun, so we continued onward. After leaving Fern Cave, the valley opened up and the next few miles of trail were once again fairly flat. We were able to make very good time meandering through the riverbed, alternating between red rock gullies and forested pockets of juniper, mesquite, and oak. The trail was also littered with gypsum, large white crystals protruding from the clay.
Rich.
No falling, okay?
Soon we reached our first water crossing. It is almost always faster to just change your shoes and go straight across than to wander up and down the bank looking for a better spot.
You guys hear that sploosh sound? Oh, Jared!
Made it even better than I did it like twice.
The second one, I was like already across and I was standing on this big rock watching y'all, and I saw it like there was nothing I could do. Muddy, muddy, muddy. Jared, don't do it.
After crossing, we found a sandy bank where we could eat lunch and take a break. Since we were already stopping to dry our feet and put our boots back on, the timing was perfect. We were soon back on our way, enjoying another long section of the beautiful trail. At our next stop, we were delighted to find an active prairie dog town, with the little critters poking their heads up to stare at us and then squeaking in alarm if we got too close. They were wonderful creatures and we nicknamed them Wonder Rats. Naturally, I told Mike I would give him $50 if he could catch one. He then went on a mission to try to snag a Wonder Rat or at least get an on-camera close-up. The rodents were far too fast and too timid to possibly catch, but it was wild to see how they moved through their network of interconnected tunnels. We soon got back on the trail, keeping our eyes wide open for other wildlife in the area. We heard mourning doves and bobwhite quail, but were not visited by any larger animals. After a few miles, we reached a good spot to camp for the evening. We dropped our packs and pitched our tents. The girls managed to put their rainfly on backwards, but they got it sorted out quickly enough. We prepared dinner, played some cards, and then went to bed. We were tired from the long day. The next morning we awoke to a gray, cloudy sky. We made a quick breakfast, packed up our camp, and then hit the trail. It was less than a mile walk back before we once again ran into the road. We were on the home stretch. We finished up the last leg of the trip and then made it back to the truck. The day was still young. After we arrived at the truck, we decided we hadn't had enough and we wanted to go for a day hike. We took our big packs off and packed smaller day bags to go up the mountain once again. The first portion of our day hike route was the same as the leg we hiked on our first evening in the park. With most of the day ahead of us and a much lighter loadout, we moved quickly. Once we reached the top of the mesa, the view was as incredible as ever. You almost can't help but stand and admire the beautiful valley carved out before you. We continued across the ridge, taking a different branch of the trail this time, which allowed us to see several more beautiful scenic views. On a nearby cliffside, Mike spotted a cave. Wearing the head cam, he decided to take a sprint up to the top. By the time Mike got down from the cliffside, it had started to drizzle on us. Fortunately, we were all prepared. We pulled out our rain gear, put it on, and continued down the trail. The trail remained rocky, and it seemed to get steeper and steeper as we went forward. Sometimes going down a steep rocky trail can be even tougher than going up it. After conquering the rocky slope, we decided to take a break for lunch. We heated up our MREs and discussed what we had seen on the trail that day. We then continued down a smoother portion of the trail. After a great day hike, we made it back to the truck. We were tired and just wanted to relax. We drove to the nearby town of Turkey, Texas to get some cold beer and snacks. Though we were all sober at the time, we were definitely feeling a bit silly.
Not bad. Squats.
Welcome to the Turkey, Texas hot dog and a tortilla.
What do you call it?
Sausage catastrophe.
That sounds about right.
We headed back to the park and settled in for our last night of camping. The next morning we got up, had a late breakfast, packed up our camp, and loaded the truck. It was sad to be going, but we had had a fun time. Almost as a token of farewell, we met some furry friends on our way out. Until next time, be safe, be free, and never stop seeking adventure.